Steve Jobs' childhood. Paul and Clara adopted Jobs' sister Patricia in 1957 and the family moved to Mountain View, California, in 1961. It was during this time that Paul built a workbench in his garage for his son in order to pass along his love of mechanics. Jobs, meanwhile, admired his father's craftsmanship because he knew how to build anything. If we needed a cabinet, he would build it. When he built our fence, he gave me a hammer so I could work with him. I wasn't that into fixing cars, but I was eager to hang out with my dad. By the time he was 10, Jobs was deeply involved in electronics and befriended many of the engineers who lived in the neighborhood. He had difficulty making friends with children his own age, however, and was seen by his classmates as a loner. Jobs had difficulty functioning in a traditional classroom, tended to resist authority figures, frequently misbehaved and was suspended a few times. Clara had taught him to read as a toddler, and Jobs stated that he was pretty bored in school and had turned into a little terror. "You should have seen us in the 3rd grade, we basically destroyed the teacher." He frequently played pranks on others at Monte Loma Elementary School in Mountain View. His father Paul, who was abused as a child, never reprimanded him, however, and instead blamed the school for not placing enough challenge on his brilliant son. Jobs would later credit his 4th grade teacher, Imogene Teddy Hill, with turning him around. "She taught an advanced 4th grade class and it took her about a month to get hip to my situation. She bribed me into learning. She would say, 'I really want you to finish this workbook. I'll give you $5 if you finish it.' That really kindled the passion in me for learning things. I learned more that year than I think I learned in any other year in school. They wanted me to skip the next 2 years in grade school and go straight to junior high to learn a foreign language, but my parents very wisely wouldn't let it happen." Jobs skipped the 5th grade and transferred to the 6th grade at Crittenden Middle School in Mountain View, where he became a socially awkward loner. Jobs was often bullied and gave his parents an ultimatum: they had to either take him out of Crittenden or he would drop out of school. Though the Jobs family was not well off, they used all their savings in 1967 to buy a new home, which would allow Jobs to change schools. The new house, a 3-bedroom home on Crist Drive in Los Altos, California, was in the Better Cupertino School District, Cupertino, California, and was embedded in an environment that was even more heavily populated with engineering families than the Mountain View home. The house was declared a historic site in 2013 as it was the first site for Apple Computer and is now owned by Patty and occupied by Jobs' stepmother Marilyn. When he was 13 in 1968, Jobs was given a summer job by Bill Hewlett, of Hewlett-Packard, after Jobs cold called him to ask for parts for an electronics project. He didn't know me at all, but he ended up giving me some parts and he got me a job that summer working at Hewlett-Packard on the line, assembling frequency counters. Well, assembling may be too strong. I was putting in screws. It didn't matter, I was in heaven. Bill Fernandez, a fellow electronics hobbyist who was in Jobs' grade at Cupertino Junior High, was his first friend after the 1967 move. Fernandez later commented that for some reason the kids in the 8th grade didn't like Jobs, because they thought he was odd. I was one of his few friends. Fernandez eventually introduced Jobs to 18-year-old electronics whiz and Homestead High alum Steve Wozniak, who lived across the street from Fernandez.